The FMDQ OTC, Nigeria's leading fixed income securities exchange, today marked its 5th anniversary at its head office in Lagos. It had as special guests of honor the Emir of Kano, His Royal Highness Mohammed Sanusi II, who was the central bank governor when the exchange was launched. MD CEO of FMDQ, Mr. Bola Onadele Koko, gave an overview of the journey so far and the impact it has made.
The story of FMDQ is a story of collaboration and in some sense teamwork. If you look at the external stakeholders, we look at the collaboration from day one. When we started, most people told me it's going to be tough for you. DMO, Debt Management Office, is there overseeing the bond traders. The SEC should be the one, and is the one that licensed you. The central bank will not cooperate with you. But I told them we'll resolve this as long as we have a common goal. And that's what has played out in FMDQ, that collaboration. And I cannot thank those regulators I mentioned enough. Immediately the central bank saw that this entity would be serious. First they invested, and then they allowed it and they supported it with a limited self-regulatory authority they could give it. The central bank will not abdicate its regulatory authority in financial markets. But they empowered FMDQ enough to make the members of FMDQ's vision of being a self-regulatory organization materialize. The SEC, the Securities and Exchange Commission, apart from registering, also allowed FMDQ to evolve because there was no model for it. So they had to wait. And it takes some level of regulatory maturity to take that sort of posture, to allow an entity you registered or licensed to evolve before you then, start doing the right thing. And despite that, we respected what the SEC did. We didn't take it for granted. This institution is highly compliant. It has to be, and that's the mandate of the board. This board is chaired by the Deputy Governor of Central Bank, so it cannot be embarrassed. This board has 6 or 7 CEOs of banks, of the buy-side pension fund administrator. This bank, this company has a seasoned capital market regulator who retired from service after about 30 years in capital market and as acting Director General of the SEC. So it cannot be embarrassed. So compliance, 100% is the mandate. Then you go to the Debt Management Office, and immediately we presented and we shared what we were going to do. They did not hesitate to migrate the trading of bonds and treasury bills, federal government bonds, onto this platform. They also listed the securities, and they've consistently listed every security on this platform. We're waiting to actualize our dealing member specialist market, which will integrate stockbrokers with the banks in a liquid bond market. And once we do that, we believe the Debt Management Office will also list its FGN savings bond on FMDQ. For the first time in Nigeria, the Debt Management Office also listened to a value proposition and allowed the listing of the Eurobonds on a domestic securities exchange. So if you look at collaboration, I think the financial services regulator, including the National Pension Commission, who has also adopted a system for PFAs, the pension fund administrators, to trade and for it to be able to see the transactions to ensure integrity of service. Teamwork is about my employees, great people, my second family. I love them. I wish we give them this sort of engaging career, this sort of employee value proposition that will make them. And I'm happy you saw the young people here. There was not an FMDQ in the past. I never saw career in an organization like this. Now they see. We've got lawyers there, economists, people that studied business, people that studied engineering, who, because of the brand that's been created, want to work in FMDQ. Because here, young people are empowered. If I show you those in leadership here, you'll be shocked. I mean, people that are in their late 20s or their early 30s are functional heads, group heads in this institution with huge responsibility, and they recognize that. So that is the story of FMDQ.
It featured conversations where His Royal Highness Mohammed Sanusi II, Dr. Sarah Alade, former Deputy Governor of the Central Bank, and Mr. Aiboje Ike Imokwede, the pioneer chairman of the FMDQ and former CEO of Access Bank, all ordered the FMDQ on its strides, but also shared their expectations in the next 5 years and beyond.
First of all, there was remarkable teamwork, okay, within the stakeholder groups that led to the success, if you like, of FMDQ, and a great deal of sacrifice. Jibril, Bola, Emeka, Laoye. I remember I was going for the SEC interview. And, now we have our license. I can share this. We didn't have technology. None of us had run an exchange. We went in there, confident, crossed our legs, and said, okay, bring it on. And I think the SEC themselves were very supportive, to be honest, because I can think of many reasons why they could have delayed, the license at that time. But I guess they saw the type of sacrifice that was being made by very senior people in banking, the central bank support, and they realized that, look, there's something special happening here. And I hope that culture that birthed this institution, and that certainly, when I handed over as chair to Dr. Aladi, it was clear that it was there, and I do believe that when she handed over it, but it has to really sit into the foundations of the organization.
I would like to see them, play a bigger role in derivatives in this market. That's part of deepening the market, and that's one of the things that will actually, raise the standard of what we do and how we do these things, so that it's not just left at some of these rudimentary stages that we have them. I would also like to see a more active interbank market. They have been able to do something. We have been able to bring a lot of transparency, like I say, into it. But the trade among the banks, apart from what is happening now, could be better, could be, much more than what we presently have. So I know that there will be other things which we cannot think of right now, but if financial deepening is also a goal, then there will be many opportunities that FMDQ can tap into.
When are we going to start seeing a very clear transition in the balance sheet of banks with more and more long-term funding on the balance sheet? Because that is the key. And that's what I hope FMDQ, you've done the UBA bond. We need to, if you look at a typical European bank, 70% of its balance sheet is bonds, maybe 10% current and savings accounts, maybe 10% equity. We need to have that, because of the maturity transformation risks are too high. And so long as those risks are there, and there's a limit how much the central bank will continue doing intervention funds. The central bank cannot do it. Okay, the banking industry has to, and FMDQ, you have to find a way of basically transforming these savings from current account balances into long-term investments in bonds that would allow the banks to then finance power, to finance infrastructure, and to finance, and even some of what we see as short-term education. Building schools, teacher training is a long-term process. You talk about out-of-school children, it will cost you X amount to train a child, but it's not about putting a child in school in year one. Educating a child is from primary 1 to end of his secondary education. You look about 12-year, it's a 12-year project. So we need long-term money, even into education, into the scholarships, because that is how you have development.
Highlight of the event was the recognition of dignitaries and personalities who have supported the exchange all through its evolution and the cutting of the anniversary cake.
This is just to wish FMDQ a happy birthday, to wish FMDQ many more years of success and prosperity for our country. At the count of 3, 1, 2, 3.
The Emir of Kano, Deputy Treasurer of the International Finance Corporation, and the MD CEO of FMDQ speak further on the 5th anniversary and the outlook.
I think FMDQ has come a long way, and I hope it will be the nerve center for turning Nigeria into an NIFC. The range of products that they have, the kinds of things they're doing are far beyond what we even envisaged when we started FMDQ. So congratulations to the boards, to the management, and to the banks.
I think developing Naira capital markets is hugely important. We always talk about infrastructure, and in our minds we think about roads, rail, ports. But financial infrastructure is just as important, because how else are you able to get the capital from the institutions that have it, pension funds, insurance companies, banks, to the private sector that needs that capital to create jobs? And surely if we want to share prosperity in a society, we need a vibrant capital market, we need a vibrant private sector, and we need to create jobs.
The seasoned experts and ex-regulators, and the likes of Agi Mokwede, Dr. Sarah Alade, His Royal Highness, the Emir of Kano, Dr. Nwako, Wura Abiola, all spoke today, Akin Daudu, seasoned treasurers, Sam Ocheo, and some of these things they touched on, we have not done. So we have to take that into our psyche and work on for our next 5 years. We also have to think on demutualization. The board has already taken the step. The shareholders have endorsed it. We're going to have diversification and offer shareholding to other people. So we cover the full spectrum of the ecosystem, people that want to be here. We're also going to look at development financial finance institutions, the DFIs that are market development focused. So that is on. But on that financial sector deepening, that is one area that FMDQ has to do a lot of work. We couldn't have done everything in 5 years. We have to be very realistic. But we've got the management in place to be able to take on the challenges that have been thrown at FMDQ today. And we respect the aspirations, and these are things that we believe will feature in our 5-year strategic plan, which we put in place. Derivatives, and when we talk about that, it's good to put things in perspective. We're not talking of the exotic derivatives that cause problems. We're talking of hedging products. Interest rates bounce up and down. People need to hedge. If you're an investor and interest rates are going down, you have money and you're still going to invest in this economy, you need to find a way to hedge. That's what we're talking about, the plain vanilla derivatives. And we're hoping we'll get the legislative support. And if that is late in coming, the regulatory support to be able to create the right infrastructure that will reduce and mitigate systemic risk in Nigeria. Once the FMDQ clear, which we've brought the clearinghouse to the market, begins operations to support derivatives, the margins that are held by that clearinghouse must be bankruptcy remote. And the central bank has done this before with the OTCFX futures, and we believe we can replicate the same model for interest rate derivatives, for treasury bills futures, for bond futures. You can't ask someone to buy a 20-year bond and not be able to hedge. Once you come into the financial market space, it's a dynamic place, and things change. And there's so many factors that allow this to change. Once you run an economy, the type we're running, those hedging products have to be in place. From day one, FMDQ is in a hurry to bring this to the market, but there's some key things, building blocks that will support this. That I mentioned is so important, and we believe we will secure regulatory support ahead of a legislative provision that will support it. But we're working on it as a project team on it. The market has an advisory group working with FMDQ to ensure we bring it to the market. The corporate treasurers are also every day not immunized from all this risk, this market risk. And it's a project FMDQ will see through.
FMDQ is one of the good things to come out of Nigeria, and it's expected that it will continue on the trajectory of creating value and deepening the country's financial market through the fixed income securities, debt, and currencies market.